Welcome to this deep dive into Joey Thurman's book, The Minimum Method. We've got a lot to unpack. I'm really excited to have a true expert in the field here with us today.
I am happy to be here. I think that this is an interesting approach to health and fitness that we've been needing. I mean, it's really refreshing to see someone like Thurman advocating for sustainability over those intense regimens, which often just lead to burnout and, people give up. His approach is all about finding what works for you long term, not just a quick fix.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he does a good job right off the bat of tackling some of the common myths out there.
Yeah.
The ideas that we need to be constantly grinding, or that cardio is king when it comes to weight loss. He kind of encourages us to unlearn these misconceptions before we can really make progress.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to clear the path for us to think in a new way. You remember all those fad diets from years past? Like, all you can use cookies or just cabbage soup. I mean, they're perfect examples of those unsustainable approaches.
Exactly. And so he's really arguing that instead of seeking those quick fixes, we should be aiming for consistent, minimal effort over time. And he uses his own personal journey to highlight this. Talks about his frustration with the fitness industry and its emphasis on extremes.
Yeah, and speaking of sustainable approaches, I was really interested to see he dedicates a big chunk of his book to sleep. He even became a certified sleep science coach.
It's super interesting to me too. It's not
just about
getting more sleep. He really gets into like the science behind it and explains how sleep impacts everything from, our weight to hormone production, even mental health. He shares his own experience with depression and how it's a link to poor sleep.
Exactly. And he makes it very clear. It's not about chasing some magic number of hours, it's about the quality of sleep. And he introduces this concept of, sleep hygiene.
And then he gives practical tips to achieve that kind of sleep, which I found super helpful. Like grabbing your coffee first thing in the morning can actually disrupt your natural cortisol rhythms and make you more reliant on caffeine. He suggests waiting like an hour after waking up before that first cup.
Oh, yeah. And he also talks about light management, which I think is something a lot of people don't think about, just dimming the lights in the evening, avoiding bright screens between like 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., can make a huge difference because it allows your body to naturally produce melatonin.
That's so interesting. And he even talks about, alcohol. While it might help you fall asleep initially, it actually disrupts your sleep cycles, especially REM sleep, which is really important for processing emotions, consolidating memories.
Yeah, I think what I appreciate about his approach to all of this is, he acknowledges that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. He really encourages readers to experiment and find what works best for their individual needs and lifestyles.
Right, that's a good point. And from sleep, he moves on to what he calls brain power, essentially the impact of our mindset on our overall well-being.
Right. He's really diving into this idea of like reprogramming our subconscious.
And he suggests that a lot of our, negative thoughts and those limiting beliefs that we have stem from childhood experiences.
Yeah.
But we can actively work to change those patterns.
He also stresses the importance of celebrating small wins. It's about acknowledging even seemingly minor achievements because it helps you build momentum. And it reinforces those positive feedback loops.
Right. I like how he talks about failure too, and how it's unavoidable. Our response to those challenges matters more than trying to avoid them altogether.
Exactly. I mean, it's about recognizing that we're all human. We all make mistakes, and one bad decision doesn't derail the entire journey. In fact, he actually proposes that. Embracing those moments of perceived failure can be catalysts for growth.
And learning. That's a good way to look at it. And so, how do we actually upgrade our brain function? As he puts it, he offers some surprising strategies. One of them is something that we often associate with leisure, which is playing games.
Games, like card games and puzzles, even video games. Research shows that they can help develop cognitive function and protect against cognitive decline. And that's not just for older adults.
Right. Anyone can benefit. And another interesting one was music. He talks about how music can be this powerful tool for enhancing mood, improving focus, and even boosting memory.
And it's not just listening to any music, He suggests finding music that aligns with the task at hand.
I like that. And this next one might seem counterintuitive, given his emphasis on minimum effort.
Yeah.
But he actually encourages us to incorporate the art of doing nothing into our lives.
And by that, of course, he means meditation.
Right, exactly. He guides listeners through like a simple meditation practice, shows us that it doesn't have to be complex or time-consuming. Even just a few minutes of quiet, focused breathing can have profound benefits.
And it's not just, some woo-woo thing. He actually backs this up with research and cites studies showing how meditation can reduce stress, alleviate anxiety, and even improve symptoms of conditions like IBS.
That's amazing. And then he kind of shifts gears to a topic that we all experience but often struggle with, which is stress.
Yeah, he highlights how detrimental it can be to both our physical and mental health.
And how it disrupts brain function, impacts memory.
Even leads to cell death in the brain.
It's scary stuff.
Yeah.
But he doesn't just leave us hanging there.
He introduces breath work as this powerful tool for managing stress.
So we can shift out of that fight or flight mode
into a state of relaxation.
Right. And he explains how our breath is directly connected to our nervous system and how we can use breathing techniques to regulate our stress response.
And he gives us specific exercises to do, like the physiological sigh, which is, you take 2 quick inhales followed by a long exhale. And then there's alternate nostril breathing, which can really help balance the nervous system.
Very interesting. And he even goes into how, our breathing patterns change during exercise, how we can optimize our breathing for different types of workouts.
Yeah. So for instance, he recommends this power HISS breathing when you're lifting weights.
What's that?
So it helps you create like this intra-abdominal pressure.
Yeah.
And it protects the spine.
Gotcha. And then after a workout, he suggests focusing on recovery breathing to help your body return to that parasympathetic state.
But it doesn't stop there. He even recommends practicing mindful breathing just throughout the day, just becoming more aware of your breath.
I like that. And then he moves on to a topic that often evokes strong feelings.
To
food and nutrition.
We've definitely overcomplicated our approach to eating.
Yeah.
We get lost in calorie counting and macronutrient ratios.
I think he does a good job of critiquing the diet industry and its fixation on these quick fixes.
Yeah, these fad diets that ultimately don't work.
Yeah.
He even points out like the negative connotations associated with the word diet.
Right.
Like it just refers to what we eat.
It does. You're right. His approach is all about simplifying nutrition and getting back to basics, nourishing our bodies with real whole foods.
We've strayed so far from it.
That's fair.
We've succumbed to processed foods and sugary drinks, and those things leave us feeling empty and unsatisfied.
He urges us to break free from that cycle of chemical addiction and start fueling our bodies with foods that support our well-being.
And he provides a list of what he calls his favorite foods, emphasizing whole, unprocessed options like lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats.
Yeah. What I like is that he really emphasizes listening to our bodies and finding what works for us individually. There isn't one right way to eat.
Right. And, he really stresses this often overlooked aspect, which is gut health.
Yes. Tell me about that.
Our gut is connected to everything.
How so?
It influences everything from our digestion to our mood. And he highlights the importance of fiber and how different types of fiber affect digestion and gut bacteria.
So interesting.
And then he introduces this idea of an elimination diet
to
identify food sensitivities and give the gut a chance to reset.
I see. Does he give like a protocol for that?
He does. He outlines a 30-day elimination diet protocol where you remove and reintroduce potential trigger foods.
Okay.
And he also stresses the importance of protein.
Yes. Protein, it's so important. Why?
It's essential for building and maintaining muscle mass, regulating hormones, and promoting satiety. It's not just for bodybuilders. It's for everyone's health.
Everyone.
He recommends aiming for about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then he introduces this concept called the weekday diet, which is based on research by Dr. Bill Campbell, involves calorie cycling, where you reduce calorie intake during the week and increase it on the weekends.
Okay. How does that work?
It can be really effective for maintaining muscle mass, metabolic rate, while still allowing for indulgences and social events. I mean, that's the biggest thing is, people want to be able to enjoy themselves on the weekends and still see results.
This has been so interesting, just this overview so far.
Yeah.
What really stands out to you from what we've covered?
Well, I think just the emphasis on taking a step back and really looking at, these basic fundamental things like sleep and mindset and nutrition and, before we even get to the exercise part.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for our listeners, what are you starting to reconsider about your approach to health and wellness based on what we've discussed so far?
That's a good question to think about. And are you prioritizing sleep? Are you actively working to reprogram those negative thought patterns? Are you incorporating breath work into your day?
I love that. These are all small but powerful steps you can take to, start implementing the minimal method and experience its effects firsthand.
Exactly. It's not about overhauling your entire life. It's about making those small adjustments. That can have a big impact.
We'll be back shortly to explore Thurman's approach to exercise. Stay tuned.
All right, so welcome back. Let's move on to the part that everybody's probably been waiting for.
That's of course.
Exercise. It's a topic that often brings up a lot of dread for people.
Yeah.
And Thurman's philosophy here is really interesting. It's all about training smarter, not necessarily harder. He really pushes back against this idea that we have to constantly push ourselves to the brink.
And he even cautions against equating soreness with advancement or making gains. He reminds us that our bodies need time to recover, to adapt, to actually get stronger.
Exactly. And he even shares his own experience training Terrence Howard for his role in Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Where they were doing these really intense twice-a-day workouts. But he makes it clear that was, for a specific job, not something that's sustainable for most people.
Right. And he encourages us to really reconsider our relationship with movement.
Yeah.
Like advocating for more low-impact activities like walking, stretching, just getting up and moving throughout the day.
And he cites research showing that, older adults who took short walks after meals had significant reductions in their blood glucose levels, illustrating that even those small bouts of activity can have a positive impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So then he goes into different forms of exercise and provides like a really clear overview of some key concepts. He talks about the FITT principle. FITT.
Which stands for frequency, intensity, time, and type. And he emphasizes the importance of incorporating, a variety of activities into our routine.
Makes sense. He talks about resistance training.
Right. He really gets into the benefits of that, how it helps you build muscle mass, boost your metabolism, improve overall strength and functional fitness.
Then he goes into high intensity interval training, or HIIT, which I've heard a lot about. But can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so it's basically short bursts of really intense effort followed by periods of rest or active recovery.
I see.
And it's incredibly effective for improving cardiovascular fitness, burning calories.
And he also tackles some of the common misconceptions out there, like the myth that lifting weights will make women bulky.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
He debunks that.
He does. He explains that, muscle growth is influenced by a complex interplay of hormones and genetics.
Okay. So it's not as simple as just lifting weights.
Right. And then he also addresses the belief that, our knees shouldn't go past our toes. When we squat or lunge.
Oh, I've heard that one too.
Yeah, he clarifies that that's actually a natural part of movement.
Interesting.
And that restricting that range of motion could actually increase your risk of injury.
So it's more about proper form and technique.
Exactly. And working on your mobility and flexibility.
So you can optimize your movement patterns.
Right. And then he gets into the specifics of designing a workout program, talking about sets, reps, rest periods, overall workout duration.
And is there like a magic formula for that?
He acknowledges that there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer, but he offers general guidelines and encourages people to experiment, find what works best.
For their own goals, their own fitness levels.
Exactly. And he really stresses listening to your body. Pushing too hard can lead to burnout, an injury.
So it's all about
finding that balance. He also encourages us to reframe our relationship with cardio. A lot of people dread cardio.
They do.
And he offers alternative methods, like incorporating those short bursts of high intensity activity into your routine, or finding activities that you actually enjoy.
Right. So you don't have to, spend hours on the treadmill.
Exactly. And this might be surprising to some people. He actually suggests that you don't necessarily need to do cardio at all.
Really?
He points to research indicating that even 1 hour of weight training per week can have significant cardiovascular benefits.
Wow.
So for some individuals, resistance training alone might be sufficient for maintaining overall health and fitness.
I never do that.
But he does acknowledge that cardio can be beneficial for people who are, seeking to improve their endurance or reach specific fitness goals.
Makes sense.
So he offers guidance on incorporating cardio safely and effectively. He even provides like a sample HIIT workout that you can complete in under 40 minutes.
And then he talks about combining cardio and resistance training in the same session.
Right. He goes into the potential benefits and drawbacks of, doing them together.
I see.
And he acknowledges that combining them can be time efficient, but it could also hinder muscle growth and recovery.
Gotcha.
So again, it's about experimenting
and
seeing what works for you.
And this is interesting, recognizing that women's hormonal cycles can really impact their energy levels and exercise performance.
Right.
He encourages women to synchronize their workouts with their menstrual cycles.
And he provides specific recommendations for each phase of the cycle.
So it's all about listening to your body.
Honoring those natural rhythms.
Right. He also addresses this age-old question. Can you outwork a bad diet?
He admits that exercise can help mitigate some of the negative consequences of poor nutrition. But ultimately, achieving sustainable weight loss, optimal health, requires that holistic approach. Diet and exercise need to go hand in hand.
He's not saying you can just eat whatever you want and then just exercise a ton.
Right. He cites studies showing that, weight loss can occur through exercise alone.
Okay.
But he emphasizes that these studies often involve people who are significantly overweight, inactive, starting from a point where any increase in activity
will make a difference.
Yeah. He reminds us that our bodies are incredibly adaptive.
They are.
And eventually we'll reach a point where we need to adjust
either our diet
or exercise routine
or both
to continue seeing those results.
Yeah. And he concludes this section by offering a list of supplements
that can enhance athletic performance and recovery.
Okay. But he's clear
that these should be additions,
not replacements,
for a healthy diet and lifestyle.
Right. They're supplemental.
Supplements, exactly.
Okay. And so now we're moving into the final part of our deep dive. We're going to examine Thurman's perspective on recovery.
Which is so important.
Which is often overlooked.
Yeah, he shifts our attention from the intensity
of our workout
to the importance of rest,
stretching, and actively supporting our body's natural healing processes.
Yeah, I love that. So before we jump into that, take a moment to reflect. On your own exercise routine, are you incorporating a variety of activities? Are you listening to your body and making recovery a priority? Are you approaching movement with a sense of curiosity and playfulness rather than dread?
Those were all really valuable questions to ponder as we delve deeper into the minimum method and its potential for transformation.
So welcome back to our exploration of the minimum method. And now we're diving into recovery. And Thurman uses this really interesting analogy here.
Oh, yeah.
He asks us to imagine our bodies as cars. And so we wouldn't, expect to just start the engine and immediately hit the gas pedal, just like a car needs to warm up and refuel. Our bodies need those periods of rest.
Active recuperation.
To function at their best.
And he emphasizes that if we just constantly push ourselves without adequate recovery, we can end up with injuries, burnout, and actually hinder our progress.
It's counterintuitive, but our bodies actually adapt and become stronger during those periods of rest.
I like that. He also stresses the importance of stretching, reminding us that we're designed for a much greater range of motion than our modern lifestyles typically allow.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch children move, how they just seamlessly transition between squats, stretches, different positions.
Yeah, they haven't developed all those restrictions yet.
Right, and he highlights the detrimental effects of,
for one
sitting.
We all do it.
We do. It contributes to tight hip flexors, weak glutes, and just this cascade of imbalances.
Which will lead to
pain.
And he advocates for incorporating more movement throughout the day, even if it's just brief intervals of activity, like getting up to stretch, taking a short walk every hour.
Yeah, those little things add up.
They do. He even mentions this study that found, significant improvements in aerobic and anaerobic power with just 2 minutes of cumulative exercise.
2 minutes.
2 minutes broken down into 4-second bursts of intense effort performed 3 times a week.
Wow, that's amazing. So you don't need these long workouts to see results.
It's more about the intensity and consistency.
Exactly. And then he goes on to guide us through different techniques for improving flexibility and mobility. He explains the difference between static, dynamic, and PNF stretching.
And the benefits of each approach.
Right. And he also emphasizes the importance of, understanding our individual needs and limitations, recognizing that certain areas of our bodies might be chronically tight due to lifestyle habits.
And he offers like simple assessments you can do to evaluate flexibility in those common problem areas, like the hips, chest, and back.
Right. And then targeted stretches to address those imbalances.
I like that. And then he talks about foam rolling, which has become so popular in recent years.
It's a great tool.
And he explains the science behind it, how it can improve range of motion, reduce muscle soreness, enhance overall performance.
And he provides practical guidance on using a foam roller effectively.
Targeting specific muscle groups, focusing on those knots or trigger points.
That contribute to, pain and stiffness.
Right. And then he shifts gears to a topic that often faces resistance, which is rest days.
Our culture really values productivity.
Yeah, busyness equals success.
Right. And we often neglect the importance of rest and recovery.
He reminds us that we don't need to be constantly grinding
to reach our goals.
Right. And he even highlights research showing that even weekend warriors who exercise intensely for 2 consecutive days can experience significant health benefits.
Really?
Including a reduced risk of all-cause mortality.
Interesting.
So we need to embrace rest
as a vital component of the process.
Because it's during those periods of downtime that our bodies are actually rebuilding for optimal performance and long-term progress.
Right. And he even recommends incorporating sauna use into our recovery routines.
Sauna?
Yeah. He cites a 20-year study linking regular sauna sessions to a lower risk of sudden cardiac death.
Wow.
Fatal coronary heart disease.
That's significant.
And all-cause mortality.
So the sauna really does have some benefits.
It does. He explains how the heat stress of a sauna replicates the physiological benefits of exercise.
Oh, interesting.
Elevates your heart rate, improves blood flow, triggers the release of endorphins. It can even enhance muscle growth and recovery, improve insulin sensitivity, boost cognitive function.
And then for those who really want to, take it to the next level, he introduces cold therapy.
Plunging into ice cold water.
Sounds intense.
It can be, but he explains how cold exposure can reduce inflammation, alleviate muscle soreness,
and even increase our metabolic rate.
Activating brown fat.
And brown fat is
the type of fat that burns calories to generate heat.
So it actually helps us burn more calories.
It does. He cites research demonstrating the benefits of cold showers, ice baths, even just brief dips in cold water.
So it can increase our resilience and improve our overall well-being.
Right. And then, of course, he talks about supplementation
in recovery
and provides a list of evidence-based supplements that can help with muscle repair, reducing inflammation, and enhancing overall health.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the minimum method, let's distill everything we've looked at into a concise 10-point summary, kind of like a roadmap for applying Thurman's philosophy to our own lives.
I like it.
So here's your minimum method checklist for a healthier and more fulfilling life.
Okay, I'm ready.
Number 1, ditch the grind. Release those pervasive fitness myths that link constant effort with progress. Embrace sustainable long-term habits instead of short-term extremes.
Okay.
Number 2, sleep is king. Prioritize quality sleep, not just quantity, for optimal physical and mental well-being. Create a consistent sleep schedule, design a relaxing sleep environment, and observe how factors like light and caffeine affect your sleep.
Okay.
And number 3, reprogram your mind. Actively work to shift your mindset from negative to positive. Challenge limiting beliefs and replace them with empowering thoughts. Celebrate small victories. Reframe setbacks as opportunities for growth and practice mindfulness to cultivate greater self-awareness.
Got it.
Number 4, breathe deeply. Utilize breathwork to manage stress, calm your nervous system, and sharpen your focus. Experiment with techniques like the physiological sigh, alternate nostril breathing, or simply become more aware of your breath throughout the day. Number 5, nourish with real food. Simplify your approach to nutrition by focusing on whole, unprocessed foods that nourish your body and mind. Experiment to identify food sensitivities. Make protein a priority. And consider strategies like the weekday diet for flexibility and enjoyment.
I like it.
Number 6, listen to your gut. Pay attention to your digestive health, recognizing the vital connection between your gut and overall well-being. Increase your fiber intake. Explore fermented foods and probiotics, and consider an elimination diet to identify potential trigger foods.
Good word.
Number 7, embrace the weekday diet. Explore calorie cycling as a method to manage your weight, maintain muscle mass, and enjoy social gatherings without guilt. This approach involves reducing calorie intake during the week and increasing it on weekends, offering a sustainable and adaptable approach to nutrition. Number 8, train smarter. Incorporate a variety of exercises, including resistance training, HIIT, and low-impact activities like walking and stretching to challenge your body and mind. Prioritize intensity and proper form over duration, and prioritize recovery to prevent injury and burnout.
Okay.
Number 9, stretch and recover. Make stretching a regular practice to enhance flexibility, mobility, and overall well-being. Incorporate different types of stretching, target specific problem areas, and explore techniques like foam rolling to alleviate muscle tension and aid recovery.
Love it.
And number 10, prioritize rest. Embrace rest days as a vital part of the process. Understanding that recovery is just as important as the workouts themselves. Incorporate passive recovery techniques like sauna use and cold therapy to enhance your body's natural healing processes.
That's a great list. So what can we take away from all of this? I think the main takeaway is that achieving optimal health and well-being doesn't require drastic measures or extreme deprivation. It's about making small, consistent changes that lead to big results over time.
Right. It's about discovering what works best for you, experimenting, listening to your body, and embarking on this journey with a sense of curiosity, playfulness, and above all, self-compassion.
As you reflect on everything we've covered in this deep dive, consider which of these principles resonate most with you. Where do you feel inspired to make a change? What small step can you take today to incorporate the minimum method into your own life?
Right. And remember, the path to optimal health is a marathon, not a sprint. Embrace the journey, celebrate your achievement, and never underestimate the power of minimum effort applied consistently to create lasting change. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep exploring.